Deep in the heart of the U.S. Virgin Islands lies a 70-acre patch of land that became the world's most infamous crime scene, Little St. James. Known to locals as Pedophile Island, it was the private kingdom of Jeffrey Epstein, a place where the world's most powerful elites vanished behind closed doors, far from the reach of the law. But beneath the luxury villas and turquoise waters, the island hid secrets that were never meant to be uncovered. Every structure here tells a story of surveillance, isolation, and a dark underworld. Take, for instance, the most photographed building on the island. At first glance, it resembles a religious shrine with its distinct blue dome. But look closer, and the facade begins to crumble. The arched windows on the sides, they are painted illusions designed to make a windowless concrete fortress look like a harmless chapel. The most chilling detail, however, is at the entrance. Massive, gold-colored doors guard the front, but according to local workers, they were designed to be locked from the outside with heavy bars. It wasn't a sanctuary, it was a cage. But why build such a fortress on a remote island? The answer might lie beneath the floorboards. Satellite imagery suggests this temple was merely the entrance to an elevator shaft, a gateway leading to a massive network of underground tunnels. Just days before the FBI raid in 2019, witnesses reported seeing workers hauling concrete into the building to seal the lower levels forever. This obsession with secrecy required more than just walls. It required total independence. This is why the island was equipped with a massive array of solar panels and high-capacity generators. While other Caribbean islands struggled with frequent power outages, Little St. James remained a glowing fortress in the dark. This wasn't just about being green, it was about operational autonomy. Epstein needed the island to function as a self-sustaining city, ensuring that even if the rest of the world went dark, his surveillance systems, high-speed servers, and underground climate controls would never blink. He didn't just own an island. He owned a world that could run entirely off the grid, hidden from any external oversight. The locked doors of the blue-domed temple were only the surface. If you entered that building, or rather, descended beneath it, the island revealed its true, terrifying scale. Witness testimonies and forensic architecture analysis have reconstructed what the FBI raid confirmed: a massive, multi-level network of underground tunnels. These weren't simple storage basements. They were reinforced concrete arteries connecting key structures across the 70-acre property. Some survivors have spoken of subterranean common areas, dormitories, and soundproof rooms, spaces intentionally designed to operate in absolute silence and hidden from any potential satellite or aerial surveillance. The question that continues to haunt investigators is simple. What required such profound, expensive concealment, if not illegal activity? The effort to seal parts of this complex with concrete just before the FBI arrived in 2019 only deepens the suspicion. But the oddities of the estate extend above ground as well, particularly in Epstein's own taste in decor. The main mansion was reportedly filled with deeply unsettling and controversial art. In one room, a now famous oil painting depicted a prominent U.S. president, sitting in the Oval Office, wearing a blue dress and red high heels. In another corridor, a large canvas showed the figure of the Grim Reaper. These weren't subtle pieces. They were provocative statements of power, mockery, and control. Were these just the eccentrics of a billionaire, or messages to his powerful guests, reminding them of who held the ultimate power in this hidden kingdom? As you move through the estate, the surveillance is constant. Cameras, sensors, and even a piano room where no one was allowed to play, but everyone was allowed to listen through hidden microphones. Little St. James wasn't designed as a vacation home. It was designed as a fortress of control, where every corridor held a secret, and every secret held potential leverage. The most terrifying aspect of Little St. James wasn't just the isolation. It was the fact that you were never truly alone. Jeffrey Epstein didn't just build a home. He built a Panopticon, a prison where the inmates don't know they are being watched. Former IT contractors and staff have described a surveillance network that would rival a national intelligence agency. High-definition cameras were hidden behind two-way mirrors, tucked into smoke detectors, and embedded within the very walls of every guest suite. But this wasn't for security. It was for leverage. In the world of the global elite, information is the ultimate currency. Every conversation, every encounter, and every secret act committed on this island was allegedly recorded and stored on high-capacity servers. These servers were kept in a climate-controlled room, protected by biometric locks and off-grid power. It is believed that these recordings were the insurance policy that allowed Epstein to walk freely for decades despite his crimes. He wasn't just hosting the powerful, he was owning them. When the FBI finally raided the estate, they found a massive collection of hard drives and tapes, but many believe the most damaging evidence had already vanished into the digital void, held by those who still fear the island's secrets. The Panopticon structure required massive computing power. All those cameras, microphones, and data required a centralized brain. And that brain was hidden in the high-security underground servers. Witnesses have described a dedicated, climate-controlled digital vault deep beneath the main mansion, a room protected by biometric locks and reinforced steel doors. This wasn't just a standard server room. It was designed for total, uncompromised anonymity. This digital vault operated on its own. Dedicated off-grid power supply, including a massive array of solar panels and specialized generators. This ensured that even if the entire U.S. Virgin Islands grid went dark, Epstein's surveillance and data networks would never skip a beat. More disturbingly, former staff members hinted at the existence of a custom-built, automatic, dead man switch system. Allegedly, if Epstein did not log in for a specified period, selected encrypted data, perhaps the most valuable leverage, would automatically begin transmitting to pre-programmed offshore locations. This system ensured his security while alive, but it also means that the secrets of the off-grid fortress may still be out there, lying dormant on servers, hidden deep in the digital underworld. As you moved from the high-tech, reinforced concrete sections of the underground network back into the upper mansion, the decor shifted. The obsession with concealment remained, but it took a more sinister, artistic form. This leads us to one of the most famous and baffling rooms on the entire estate, the piano room. It was a meticulously designed space within the main house, reportedly filled with rare art, including a massive, highly customized grand piano. But this wasn't for concerts or leisurely playing. Multiple staff testimonies and contractor reports have confirmed a disturbing paradox. No one was allowed to play the piano. The instrument was not an artistic centerpiece. It was a distraction, a cover. According to leaked security briefs, the entire piano was meticulously hollowed out to hide powerful, embedded surveillance equipment, designed specifically to capture conversations from high-level guests who gathered nearby. To ensure absolute clarity, specialized hidden microphones were also woven into the room's textures, tucked into custom-woven tapestries and within the frames of unsettling paintings, like the notorious Grim Reaper canvas. Every note of conversation in the piano room was recorded, turning a performance space into a listening post, capturing the silent, damning score of the global elite. The hidden microphones and underground vaults are only part of the story. On the surface, the island's landscape is dotted with a different kind of mystery, one that sits in plain sight. Scattered across the 70-acre estate are numerous life-sized statues that feel completely out of place in a tropical paradise. Among the most discussed is a Holstein cow statue, which locals claimed was moved to different spots on the cliffs with strange frequency. Why move a plastic cow around an island? Some investigators believe it served as a low-tech marker for surveillance blind spots, while others saw it as a bizarre, eccentric game. But the most unsettling symbols are found atop the blue-domed temple itself. Two large, golden, bird-like figures. These statues, resembling ancient Egyptian deities or mythical guardians, overlook the ocean like silent sentinels. To a casual observer, these might seem like the expensive whims of a billionaire. However, for those who study the psychology of power, they represent symbolic dominance. These weren't just decorations. They were markers of a private ideology, creating a ritualistic atmosphere designed to remind every guest that on Little St. James, they were stepping into a world with its own rules, overseen by silent, golden eyes. Leaving the statues behind, we find ourselves at another architectural anomaly, a structure known as the Pillbox. This reinforced concrete bunker sits on a high point of the island, overlooking the Caribbean Sea. While the main mansion was designed for luxury, the Pillbox was built for one thing only: absolute observation. Equipped with high-powered telescopes and a 360-degree view, this wasn't a place for guests to enjoy the scenery. It was a tactical outpost. From here, every boat, every plane, and every movement on or around the island was tracked in real time. But the control didn't stop at the shoreline. Staff reports suggest the Pillbox was also linked to the island's internal communications array, allowing for a total lockdown of the estate at a moment's notice. It reinforces the growing realization that Little St. James wasn't a getaway. It was a high-security laboratory of human behavior. In this Pillbox, the line between a billionaire's security and a dictator's surveillance blurred into something far more predatory. Every inch of the island was mapped, monitored, and mastered. The steel doors and advanced servers were only one part of the machine. The ultimate form of control on Little St. James was human. To run a private kingdom, Epstein required an invisible army: gardeners, housekeepers, and a specialized security detail. Former employees have described a culture of absolute fear. Before setting foot on the island, every worker was forced to sign ironclad non-disclosure agreements with astronomical financial penalties. They were trained to be ghosts, to provide for every need of the powerful guests without ever making eye contact or being heard. But as the FBI investigation revealed, these ghosts saw everything. Staff members were allegedly subjected to daily briefings where they were reminded that the island's secrets were a matter of life and death. Some reports even suggest that the staff had their own isolated living quarters, monitored just as strictly as the guest villas. In a world designed to record every visitor, the staff became the only living hard drives the system couldn't fully format. They lived in the heart of the conspiracy, bound by a silence that was bought, paid for, and enforced by the very walls around them. The private kingdom required a private lifeline. While the world watched the headlines, Little St. James was operating on an independent clock, meticulously managing a continuous flow of resources, fuel, and specialized equipment. To maintain this self-sustaining, high-security lab of isolation, Epstein created a customized gateway. This was the Gateway, Logistics, and the Lolita Express. It wasn't just a basic airstrip or a cargo dock. It was a tactical portal designed to make certain that the chosen few, powerful guests and vulnerable individuals alike, could be transported to the island with absolute privacy and unparalleled efficiency. At the heart of this system was the private airstrip, engineered to handle heavy, transcontinental jets, allowing them to arrive with the perfect anonymity Epstein demanded. While other Caribbean properties relied on scheduled commercial transport or private charters, Little St. James had its own dedicated lifeline, the infamous Lolita Express. This wasn't just a plane. It was the ultimate tool of operational independence. The customized Boeing jet operated as a flying vault, transporting the world's elite far from the gaze of the law or any conventional aviation tracking. It ensured the island functioned as a world entirely off the grid, hidden from any external oversight. The only trackable evidence of this private lifeline was the silence that settled back over the Caribbean once the Lolita Express vanished from the radar. The private, self-sustaining world of Little St. James ultimately had one fatal flaw. It relied on the perceived invisibility of its creator. In 2019, that illusion was shattered. The meticulously controlled operational independence was broken by the only force the system couldn't predict: the raid. When the FBI finally executed a high-stakes tactical breach on the estate, they were stepping into a fortress designed to hide everything. Agents reported biometric locks on interior doors, hidden safes embedded in concrete, and that massive, climate-controlled digital vault. Their immediate objective was to seize the central brain, the hard drives, and high-capacity servers that held the island's secrets. But a dark suspicion remains. Just days before the raid, after Epstein's final arrest, witnesses reported unusual activity: shredding trucks at his Manhattan mansion and hummable activity on the island itself. When investigators accessed the servers, they found a troubling pattern of missing data and fragmented files. Some believe that the customized dead man switch had already activated, while others argued that the most damaging digital evidence had been remotely purged, wiped, formatted, and erased from existence. Little St. James was captured, but its final silent score may have already vanished into the digital vacuum, held forever by those who paid, watched, and participated in its hidden kingdom. The fortress was breached, but its ultimate secrets may remain off the grid, hidden from the reach of conventional justice.